Today we will see about the HTML. I hope everybody set up the Visual Studio. Now let's see about the HTML. Now what is HTML and why do we use it? We will see everything. Now HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. This is a markup language where we use a set of different tags. By using the different tags, we will implement a web page. And HTML documents are described by the HTML tag, and each tag is described the different document purpose. Like what are the different tags and how can we use it, we will see. So if you want to implement a web page with the help of HTML, what you can do is with the help of HTML, you can use the different tags. By using the different tags, you can implement a web page. So each tag is going to describe the different documents. Now, few HTML tags. So HTML tags are keywords. We call it sometimes the keywords, right? So, and it's surrounded by the angle bracket, less than and greater than. Similar like you have there are two types of a tag. One is open tag and close tag. So here the tag is surrounded by the angle bracket, which is a less than and greater than. And this is one tag which has a closer tag. So this is open tag and this is closer tag. In between this, we will write a content. In between this, we will write a content. Now, similarly here, HTML tags are normally come in pair, like a open paragraph and close paragraph. Open paragraph and close paragraph. And the first tag pair starts with without any this slash. It directly starts with the keyword, and at the end we have a close of the P. That means I'm closing it here. Open does not have any slash, closer will have a slash. Now the end tag is written like a star tag, but with the slash before the tag. There is another tag which is called as a self tag. Self tag is nothing but open, close, both are in the same. Now here tag, after that you have this. Now when you have a open and end, the slash is before the tag. When you have a self tag, after the tag, the slash will be available. This is the self closed tag. Now, next we have a web browser. Now, the purpose of the web browser is like we have a different type of browsers are available. We have a different purpose of a web browsers are there. Chrome, IE, Firefox, Safari, right? So different web browsers are there. So you can take any web browser, right? So using is to read the HTML document and it will display. Whatever the browser it will be, you can implement a HTML code and display the information inside the web browser. Now the web browser does not display the HTML tag. So whatever the tag I have writing it, right? So before we have a tag name here. Now whatever the tag I'm writing it here, and then inside this, after that end P. So in between whatever the data I'm writing here. So when we are displaying this information on the web browser, the tags will not be displayed. Tag will not be displayed. So it only determines how this data should be displayed in the web browser. Should it be displayed in the paragraph? Should it be displayed in the normal text, or should it be displayed as a bold, italic, which font or which color, how I wanted to display the data content on the web browser, the tags are going to decide it. So we will not display the tag. We will not display the tags. Now let's see the first HTML code. Now whenever we are writing the HTML code starts with HTML. It starts with HTML and then we have a close, open HTML and close HTML. And inside that, we have a header. If you want to define the header, you can define the header. Otherwise, if you want to directly go for a content, you can do it. But usually HTML is divided into the header as well as the body. It has the header and body. Header, what is the header you wanted to display? So that you can decide here title. Some kind of a title and we can specify the page title. So that is the header. And inside the body, what is the text needs to be displayed here? So here if you observe, so this is one tag, which is HTML tag. And this is another tag, which is a header tag. And this is another tag, body tag. And then within the header, you have a title. Title is nothing but whenever in the books, whenever we are reading it, so it will show first chapter, like some things, the story name, it will give, right? So this is the header. And after this header, what is the context? So when we are starting, what are the first context is there, like a first page? It shows in the bold color and different format. So similarly, if you want to have a different font, like we have a H1 to H6 are there. So if you want a different level, so you can decide it here. And then we have a paragraph. Now let me show you this one example so that you will understand. We'll implement inside the Visual Studio. So you have a file, new text file. When you click on a new text file, it is asking to select the language. Click on here and then select the language here, HTML. Select the language HTML. I'm going to write the HTML first program. So HTML starts with the HTML, which has a curly braces. Let me increase the font. So this is open HTML and then close HTML. Inside this, we have a header. So we have a open header and then close header. Similarly, we have a body. Inside the header, I'm going to display here title. Title equal to, let's say that this is.
Mom, how did you create it?
So you need to use it file, new text file. And here it is asking you select a language. Click on this so that it will be prompted here and choose the HTML.
Okay, thank you.
Now this is my first web page. And then inside this body, we are going to write H1. And let's say this HTML header. Then I'm going to say paragraph, learning, HTML, basics. Right, so this is some text I have added here. Now let me save this, click on this Control S. When you click on the Control S, it is asking that where do you want to save it. Now let me save it in, you can save it any place. And I'm going to create a new folder here, HTML. Inside this, I'm going to say here web 1. So here automatically type of the file, it says HTML. So the type of file, it says HTML. That means extensions will be always HTML. .html. Now click on this save. It is saved web1.html. So we have added open, HTML, close HTML, open header, close header, and then you have an open body and close body, and then you have a title, so which is going to display on the title, and then we have it within the body H1 and paragraph. Now let's open the, let me open the folder. Document PS4 HTML. Now if you save this HTML, whatever the default Chrome is there, that the default Chrome, it will be showing here the logo. Now double click on this. When you double click it, so it is going to open the page. Here it says HTML header and learning the HTML basics. Learning HTML basics. So title will be on top, it will be displayed as a title. Now let's say here we have this is the H1. Right, so whatever I have used it, this is the H1. Right, so this is the H1 and title is displaying it on top, saying that this is my first page. So this is the title. Whatever on top the page, it is displaying it. So here it is. This is my first web page. So this is the title. Now if you say here, show me the title as a web 1. Click on this save. And let's go ahead and display. Refresh. Before it was, this is my first web page. And just refresh here, it says web 1. This is web 1. So that is the title. And then we have a header, HTML header, and the paragraph is learning HTML basics. Now here we have a few more H1 to H6 tags are available. Right, so headings are, you can define the heading from H1 to H6 tag. So example H1, this is the heading, and H2, you can specify it up to the H6. Up to H6, you can define it. Now let me show you that. Now here we have a H1 tag, right? So I'm going to use this till the H6 and let's show you that what is the difference between the H1 to H6. So here I'm going to use it H2 and this is H3. And this will be H4, H5, H6. And let's save this. Now just refresh this page. Now you see here. So the first one is the H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. Now just for a differentiation, I'm going to add it here. H1 hyphen, H2 hyphen, H3 hyphen, H4, then we have a H5, only up to H6 we have. Let's refresh. Now this is the how you will see the differences between the H12 till H6. So it's based on the how you want to design your page. If you want that design, you can say here. Now let's say here, these are the open tag and close tag. These are open tag and close tag. Now let's say if I want a self tag. If I want a self tag, how can I add a self tag? So for example, one of the self tag is breakpoint. One of the self tag is breakpoint. Right now, if you see here, it is showing in single line, learning HTML basics. Now, if you want to divide this, you can use the self tag, which is called as a break. Open this, refresh, and it says that it's a line break. So this is the self tag. Whatever we have added, it's called as a self tag. Now there are few paragraph tags are there, like if you use the P, which is nothing but it is a paragraph tag. So example you have it, this is a paragraph and you can add the multiple paragraph in the single page. You can add it multiple. Let's say here I have added the paragraph. So this is the paragraph which I have added. Right, so you can add it multiple paragraph. Let's say here. This is second paragraph. So let's assume that now I have a page, right? So let me get some content here. I'm going to get some content. Let's say about HTML. Let's copy this information about HTML. And let's say I'm going to give here the details. Now, if you see here, this is completely in single line. Completely, it is in the single line. Now, if I see the output, refresh. So this is showing as a complete text format. Complete text format. Assume that if I want a divide it, now if I expand it, so it will be like this. But I wanted to divide it here after, or it should come down. After web browser, it should come down. After technologies, this should come down. So I wanted to bring this, but I do not want to use the break. I do not want to use the breakpoint. So how can we do that? There is another way to do it without a breakpoint. So we have a something apart from the paragraph, we have another one which is called as a pre. Which is called as a pre. Now in this pre, I can say here, this is paragraph pre. Right, so same thing, I'm dividing it in the here also. Although I have divided in the paragraph, it will display in the same line. Single line, it will be displayed. So I have divided it. Same thing, I'm going to use it with the pre tag also. So this is the pre tag. And in here, pre tag. Right? So if I divide this line in the paragraph, still it is going to display in the single line. Now, in order to divide this, let's say this is a paragraph. Let's say this is P tag and this is pre tag. Click on this refresh. Now P tag, if you see here, though I have given here the line by line, but still it is taken as a single line. But in case if you want a line by line, if you do not want to use the break space, you do not want to use the break, but if you wanted to bring it up as a paragraph, then what you can do is you can use this way. So using the pre tag, what you can do is you can divide it. So there is automatically it will give you the line break. So how, whatever the format you have mentioned here, that's exactly the same format it will be displayed in the website also. That's exactly the same format it will be displayed in the same format. So script language such as a JavaScript. So whatever you have given here, the same format it is going to display. So basically you have a paragraph tag and pre tag. So P tag is paragraph. So whenever you want, this is basically if you say paragraph here, so that means it will take in everything as a single line. Whereas pre tag, now if you want to divide anything, you can divide it. So HTML is like if you want to divide it step by step, you can divide it and you can print that information on the web page. You can format it. That's exactly we have seen. Now, sometimes we have to specify in the paragraph, you will have it in tags, whether it is a paragraph pre tag or whether it is a break tag, whatever the tags are there. So far, whatever the tags which we have written, now inside this paragraph or inside any tag, we will have a attributes will be there. We can use certain attributes based on the tag. Right. So for example, let's say here. So we have something called single quote and double quote, where we will be using the single quote and double quote. In the paragraph, we have an attribute called title. We can give attribute called title. Now here it says title equal to. Now what will happen if I use a single quote within the double quote? If I use a double quote within the single quote, what will happen? It will be displayed as it is, right? Now let's say here I'm going to, let's create a new program here. Instead of touching this, I'll create a new one. File, this is the HTML, select the language, HTML. I'll say here header HTML. Within this, we will say here header. A header, and then we have a body. Same thing I'll divide it, I'll use it. So let's say here title, this is the web 2 title. And similarly here in the body, let's say I'm going to use only the paragraph. Let's use the paragraph, and inside this paragraph, let's say I'm going to define something here. HTML. Now, so here in the paragraph, I'll write it here title equal to. So by default, it will display the double quotes. In case if you want a single quote, you can use a single quote. Let's say hyper. And I wanted the text to be in the double quote. So let's use the text markup. language. Right? Similarly, I'm going to use another paragraph here. And this time, the outside one will be the double quotes. And inside this, we'll have a single quotes. And you cannot use it double quotes within the double quotes. It has to be in the opposite direction. If you have an outside double quotes, you need to use inside single quotes. If you try to use the double quotes, right, if you use this, it does not work. It does not work. Save this. To open this web tool. So here, if I it's not displaying anything here, hypertext, title is not displaying. Did I give correctly? Title, paragraph title equal to this is perfect. And let me go to the page. Yeah. So if I hover it, it is displaying it. Hypertext markup language. Red text will be, it is very small. So it is displaying it hyper. Text is showing as a in the double quotes and then markup language. Similarly, this is also. So single quotes, whatever it is there, single quotes, it is displaying it. So it will, both the values will be displayed. Hypertext markup language, both, whether you use a double quote or single quotes, title will be displayed. But if you are using the single quotes and if you want to highlight anything in title, so you can use the double quotes inside this. If you are using double quotes outside, use the single quotes inside this. Anytime if you want to add a comments into the HTML, how do you do it? So usually we add it using the less than exclamation hyphen hyphen and then closer you will have a hyphen hyphen closer one. So let me show you this. So for example, if you want to add a comments here, let's say I'm going to add it here, exclamation hyphen hyphen and automatically end will be displayed. Let's say that this is HTML title inside paragraph. Correct paragraph. Now let me say this.
When would you use it as similar just to add notes for yourself?
Can you repeat that, Ram?
When would you use this tagging like on every web page for like developers, or you would add it? Why would you add a tag here?
Okay.
The one you're writing now, this HTML title inside paragraph.
Yeah, so this is basically comment. This is
Okay.
for the developer comments.
Okay.
So this is for the comments. Like we usually do the comments in the wherever we write a program, right? So in case if you want to add any comments, like say here, this is a comments are like it is like a description. Description, and this is the description. And then I wanted to say the who has implemented. You can specify the author here. So some kind of information if you want to add it anytime. then you can specify it here in the comments. Now, whatever we are specifying in the comments, it will not be displayed on the web page. Comments will not be displayed on the web page. So this is only for the development purpose.
Okay, thank
If
you.
you want, yeah. So if you want to add any comments, you can use the less than exclamation and add whatever the comments is there. End of this hyphen and greater than. Example, now this is the one. So whatever we have implemented, that's the same thing. Less than exclamation hyphen. This is a comment hyphen greater than. Similarly, if you want to add it paragraph and then if you want a few more comments, you can add it. So that is for the commenting. Till this point, any questions, anyone? Implementing the HTML, writing the tags, comments.
I have a question about the P title. When would you use the comma, the single comma and the double comma? Like when would you know this is the best way to do this approach?
Usually HTML works in the both the ways, but when you are working in the Salesforce, so usually Salesforce, what we do is we use single quotes for the comments, or else when it is like a by default when we see in the LWC, so when we are writing it, automatically it will prompt as a double quotes.
Okay.
So let's say here, I'm going to say here title. So automatically it will prompt it as a double quotes.
Okay.
So mostly we will use it double quotes.
Thank you.
Ma'am, can we increase the size of the this P1 title hypertext markup language, that's single string and double string, right? Whenever we are hovering over it only, we can get the text. Can we increase the size for that?
Yes.
Or can we use the head? Or can we use a H1 header tags to that?
You can increase the font size. So that we will see later how to increase it, we will see. So you can apply all those things, stylings to the title. It should be like a text should be bold color and increase the font for this. But everything we can apply, but just hold on it. We are still in the beginning. So next one is a formatting. So for the formatting, so like a break tag, which we have already seen, there are few formatting tags, break tag, and then we have a bold tag, right? And then we have a list tags are there, underline tags are there, and then horizontal line. If you want a horizontal line, you can use the HR/. And similarly, you have a sub tag, subscript, and also superscript tags are there. Now let's see all these things: break, bold, list, underline, horizontal, subscript, and superscript. Now let me show you that. Now let's implement new file, new text file, language, HTML. Copy this. So here, what we are going to do is I'm going to display the certain information. Let's say here, this is for the paragraph I have. After that, if you wanted anything like a breakpoint or if you want to add it line break, right, you can use the BR tag. So directly you can add it here after paragraph. If you say BR tag, so directly there will be a line break will be there. So when we say paragraph is automatically having a line break. So you need not to use it separately here, line break. Now let's say this is a text format, right? So if you want a text format line break, now let me add it. Now if I say here, if I add the line break here, now I want the line break. So, but what will happen if I add, this is the HTML tag. This is HTML tag. But if I add this HTML tag within the text file, so what will happen? It will be considered as a text. It will not be considered as a break. Now we will see the output. Now let's save this. Let's say Web3. Click on this save. So what is happening? It is showing the beer tag itself. So inside the text, you cannot add the HTML tags. Inside the text, you cannot add directly the HTML tags. So it does not work. Basically, system will not identify that is a HTML tag because you have writing everything into the text format. Now let's see here if you want to apply the bold. Now there is something called here. This is a bold text. Now this has to be displayed in the bold. Bold is nothing but it's a. Now let me show you the output. So it has a open as well as a closer. Inside this, you will be adding the information. Now let's say. On this refresh. Now this is bold text. Right. Similarly, if you want to display the information in the italic format. Let's say this is italic format. Italic format, we use it I, open I, and then small I. So let's say here this is italic text for HTML. Now, in this case, if you want, for example, you have a bold and inside this bold, certain information I wanted to display in the italic. So this is the bold. This is the bold text. Now let me write it something here. This is HTML class for Salesforce. And in this case, I want the HTML should be in the italic form. In that case, what I'll do is I'll use the italic tags, Control X, and we'll save. Save. So here, this entire text will be the bold and only this one will be the italic. Now let me refresh this. Now if you see here, so this complete text is the italic and in the below, HTML is the italic, rest all information is normal. Now in case if you do not want a bold for this, bold for HTML, you do not want a bold for HTML. So end this bold here and again started B tag, Control X and then give it here. Click on this save. Just refresh. So what will happen? HTML is different. It's not a bold. So the other information is bold. Underline. So for underline, so let's say here I want the underline. So let me add the paragraph. Inside the paragraph, I'm going to use it underline. Now let's say this is HTML underline text. Now click on this save. Now let me show you the output. Now what is happening? There is an underline is displayed. Now here everywhere I'm adding the paragraph. But if I do not add the paragraph, what will happen? Now let me comment out this line. Now let's say I'm not adding the paragraph. Without paragraph, I'll add it after this. Click on this save. Go back, refresh. So paragraph is, this is fine. But sometimes what happens is if you do not add a paragraph, what will happen is it is going to start directly from here. Now let's say I'm not adding the paragraph for the previous one also. Click on this save. Now refresh. Now what is happened? It is executing in the same line. So this is one tag, and after that, this is another tag. Right, so this is one tag. This is HTML class for Salesforce is a 1. And then below that I have it, this is HTML underline text. So this should come bottom, but it is continuing it. So the reason is we have removed the paragraph. So if you add a paragraph, what will happen is it will display the line by line. It will display the information in line by line. So let's say I wanted to add a horizontal line. So in order to add the horizontal lines, let's say here horizontal, and this is also should be horizontal. So that means after this paragraph, I'm adding the one horizontal line, and below also I'm adding it. Let's click on it, save. Let's see the output. So it is after the paragraph, there is a one line is added, and then at the end also line is added. So this is how the horizontal line will be displayed. So if you want any line, so you can add the lines inside the HTML using the HR tag. HR is a self-closed tag. It is self-closed tag. Similarly, we have a subscript and superscript. Subscript and superscript is, let's say here, I'm going to say, so here I'll say subscript. For subscript, usually we have a H2O. So how do we write a H2O? So there is a formula, H2O is there. Let's say here, this is H2O, right? So this is how we write it. So this is exactly format I wanted to display in the web browser. Web page, I wanted to display this information. Now, how can we display this information? So use this H and then add this serve to and closer of this, and then add the O. Right, so this is subscript. Subscript is basically if you want to add anything at the bottom of here, so you can show that information. Now let me show this output. So it is displaying in the H2O. Anything that you wanted to display in the H2O, or any like a N2H, right? So the chemistry, whatever the formulas are there, if you want to display that formulas using the subscript, you can implement it. Or sometimes we have a superscript. Superscript is nothing but mathematical. 5 square or a 10 square. If you want to display this 10 square, now how can you display it? So for this, what you can do is you can implement it here 5 super 2. Click on this save, and let's go to the page. Click on the refresh. Now it is displaying the 5 square. 5 square. Now let me add that everything into the paragraph. Say here, paragraph. Let's add it here on top. After the paragraph, I'm going to add it here. 5 square. Let's click on this save. On this refresh. Now here 5 square, and then here it is a superscript and this is a subscript. Now you can add the information also here. There is a superscript. Superscript, and this is a subscript. Let's refresh. Now this is the superscript and this is the subscript. That's all for today. We will see few more tomorrow how to use it. So please practice the HTML, whatever we have discussed. So I think few members are new to the coding part of it. So whatever we have discussed today, please practice it.
Ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.